say wo hwe de asi wo Ghana na unim say NDC omo try say ombesa fix chief justice dismissal no abehye time wa Akwatia Ghana fo nyina attention wo Akwatia no saa mre na mu no de chief justice na dismissal no so bae so that ebeye divided attention na say MPP adwene wo Akwatia at the same time chief justice issue so aba na say nka Akwatia bo mo nanka chief justice de no so ayese no an ye discuss na say de omo ye no eno ye first thing na keke hwe uridi judge bia oba England a woko ye fene Lord Denning na sa Lord Denning no emra wo de ba ye nyina na otai decent emra wo de ba ye nyina aba be ye mra ene eno na obia eyusu the dissenting view no aba ye law. Now, Lord Denny can be said, the law does not lean itself to trifles, triviality. The law does not lean itself towards. Now, Mamima clear example. So, dominant factors na ye consider, but any triviality, near tibia, a who here, law no cry, I can't say a misdemeanor. Mami enema me ensan as chief justice ye de born no first of all petitioners the asem ko count 1 count 2 count 3 ze hu ye bo ko adu wo court a first count court no be determine first count no second count court no be determine third count obe determine so odi for wodi bi mo na say obe punish first count na wa punish obe ja wa ja second count obe di we de committee ni tenase no first count no kwa eye Daniel Ofori asem no kwa no eno kwa no me determine no me de submit report de ama president na de ya ne say president say report no so on fan tudwa ehye kukum eti adia amount to stated misbehavior no yenim na keke wonu ma de man ye very dangerous she ye constitution where wo ho no e border on interpretation. Any interpretation which will lead to absurdity, any kwan say ojina so ade bia odin chirechire mu beba e be lead to absurdity. Any kwan say when you are giving interpretation, you don't give an interpretation which will lead to absurdity. Ede emfantiasepa emba yemfa san chirechire mu ne mba. Over the 3 grounds I did remove chief justice na enana Dr. KB Asante kan eno na former chief justice and in Yabua Kaino, the dominant factor that you have to consider whether or not chief justice is what incompetent. Whether say chief justice or competent or not, or competent. Then we are reho. Ebra His Excellency John Dramani Mahama or thrown a letter in the Abano. Know ye all men. You see, it is to capture a archaic English, but lawyers they tell you so capture attention. So a declaration but a capture attention but a bra or de bano as he also will remove chief justice no as a chief justice and was a remove no as a member of the Supreme Court. Two ni na were remove no okay it borders on 2 school of thoughts it borders on 2 school of thoughts. In the case of Chatuchi Kata versus the chief justice and Attorney General 202 court on can be or can say Supreme Court her honor no chief justice dibreno ejina ne ba bi nko ana we member of the Supreme Court non so as a judge and so jina ne ba bi nko edikeke mema typical example et say ye wo class ye class captain say omra medi yeso as a class captain a eye role bi a ye de ama no a administrative function a class captain e be perform as an administrator. Eti chief justice no so administrator or perform administrative function no say the head of the judiciary. Eti class captain no deserve to me no man no ya the bone na we free class captain as well. Does it mean say on formal part of the member of the class ana? That is the question to be interrogated. That is my understanding because it borders on 2 school of thought unless somebody goes for further interpretation of that provision because you need clear case war, but I'm reading the case of Chatuchi Kata versus the chief justice. As more kind, baby portion get to be a make actual. Or say, me read the portion. In doing so, the court underscored that while the Chief Justice is himself a Supreme Court judge, his administrative functions in contest where his impartiality might be in question are to be kept separate from those of his colleagues on the bench at the Supreme Court. Listen to the decision in Chachuchi Kata versus Chief Justice and AG 2002. Eti Chief Justice no or role as a Chief Justice. Eti yenhwe adia umusa court no, you shouldn't expect it from court. When the petition was sent to the president and the committee, what was Daniel Ofori seeking for? Adia no was seeking from committee no say Chief Justice no ye remove no as Chief Justice. Daniel Ofori muse bibia say ye remove Chief Justice no as Chief Justice, no say remove no as what? As the member of the Supreme Court. So she did not request that thing from the inferior court, inferior committee. That committee is an inferior. The reason why I'm saying it's an inferior, it is not a court of what? Competent jurisdiction. So whatever decision they come out with, under almost supervisory court, I will say supervising. No. So it means that if the Chief Justice is aggrieved by the inferior courts, we will right to go to supervisory court to absolutely, because once it is although other people are trying to say Article 146 is a strictly censor, that means that a president will remove our removal. There is no authority to that effect, and as a constitutional law lawyer, they are making me can say based on the provision in the constitution, once the committee is an inferior court, now inferior court no, or supervisory court to be a dinner or supervisory jurisdiction, I check it that committee. So if the Chief Justice is aggrieved about that inferior court, Chief Justice should keep mute. More on kasa, more on court and challenge decision is abreya. On try Mahama be free so. Now on file non challenges our decision. And Chief Justice will be brought back.
And they will say that's court city or
Ebina Ura Chatuchi Kata. Ebina Ura, and no man require me be in your man. Ebina Ura Chatuchi Kata ye no. Ebra ye buano for Edino Kotu Muno. Chatuchi Kata anko appeal where MPP pencil. Or train Emma Justice Denis J. I didn't call Supreme Court no. At the time, I didn't call Court of Appeal. Now His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, a president. Or Chayama Nana Kufuadomo, Amemwina Kwawiye, President Conform the Kwawiye, Wanko Oma. Edipo by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama pension. I don't know call make up first His Excellency John Dramani Mahansana Nana Ebebano. I won't call ye and Omodane Adiano Ekacha Chachika Tenifo. A Chief Justice, me futu as a young lawyer. Me so limited because we are practicing more than 35 years. Waba, Mama, some people are even saying, say, once I remove Chief Justice and every son automatically, Amao Akwaha. Let's read Article 128, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. It says that the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice. 1. It shall consist of the Chief Justice. So bones are where to be connected to separate sentences what together. We are trying to find the etymology of the provision. You find the meaning of the provision. Or say the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice. So bones say conjunctive. There's a word there, and not less than 9 other justices of the Supreme Court. So 2 separate sentences. Oh yes, summary. School. Once a sentence, so you can get 2 ideas from it. 1, the Chief Justice stands alone, and 2, the not less than 9 justices of the Supreme Court. Baby. That means that Chief Justice is only the administrative head. At the end of the fast, so the Supreme Court. An appointment is different, and a president appointing a Chief Justice is also different. I'm giving an interpretation which will not lead to any absurdity, because constitutional provision, constitutional interpretation will not lead to absurdity.